Good afternoon, my friend. How are you today?
I'm okay. How are you, beautiful?
I'm having a good day. I'm having a very, very good day. I am really enjoying these conversations,
Me
conversations
too.
with you, conversations with Mandy, conversations with all these women who have so much to offer because I think that the more we talk about mental health, mental wellness,
Mhm.
and those modalities, the more common we make it, the more easier it is to access our feelings. Does that make sense to you?
That makes total sense. And it's amazing, like after our anytime I have a conversation with you, I always feel great. But after the last one, um, I felt even lighter. And
Oh,
it's just amazing, like to realize to shift that mindset. You don't need something huge to fill your cup. You don't need something huge. Sometimes if it's just pulling away from whatever for 5 minutes and not even talking about anything specific, but just, having that conversation with the people who bring that light in your life, right?
I think that we potentially might not know how much we carry when we just get so used to carrying it.
Right.
Does that make
It's
sense? And I
pretty
think
simple.
that's why
Yeah.
when we find those people who are like a little bit lighter,
Yeah.
it really does stand out, right? I do that.
Yeah.
I've said this before. I had this big conversation with Mandy about how I don't have a clique. I'm not very good with the cliques. But when
Hmm.
I see people I like, people who just shine different, I grab them. I grabbed
Yeah.
you. You know what I mean? I grabbed Sherry. I grabbed that's how I find my people. I'm tired of the social norm and the status quo and who's supposed to be who. Like whose energy aligns with mine, and that's what I want to surround myself with.
We kind of touched on this at one point too. I was the
Yeah.
same way growing up.
Yeah.
I was never like into one like clique either. I was here, I was in the cafeteria, I was out on the field, I
Yeah.
was here, there, everywhere, wherever, I was a social butterfly to an extent, but I spoke to everybody.
Yeah. I never, well,
Mm,
I just felt like I never fit in. Like I could have
mm,
conversations with anybody, but there was no, I had at the end a diehard clique of women who I still admire to this day, who I went to high school with. But my overall experience was I didn't fit in at all, and
yeah.
Um, that's okay because who we are and who I was and where I am now, like not even close to the same human, right?
Yeah. And I think as, generations move on, things are shifting.
Mm-hmm.
Like back then, I think when, we were in high school, and I'm not saying by any means it doesn't exist. I would actually
Yeah,
think the opposite, but I think women, as we maybe it has nothing to do generational, but I think as women get older, or even people, like not just to be gender specific, that we realize, put the claws away. It's a lot easier to move together on the same team than against each other.
that is a whole conversation about how the patriarch got us to fight each other that we're going to put in our back pocket because we don't have
Yeah.
7 hours.
We'll
However,
stick with that.
there's huge emotional intelligence to being able to recognize who you are and who your people
Mhm.
are. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And I think that there's a push now towards this emotional intelligence and towards being who you surround yourself with. We know we're the sum of the five we spend the most time with, right? We can have a
Right.
conversation about that too, but who we surround ourselves really, really affects how we then move forward in the world because energy is contagious. Whether you're
It is.
spiritual or psychological, energy is contagious and fluid, right?
Mm-hmm.
The secret is to be able to communicate it, to have
Right.
emotional intelligence, to be able to recognize what you're feeling and be able to express it without attacking another one. That's a skill unto itself.
It is.
Yeah,
It is. I think we take for granted how much of emotional sponges we can all be.
absolutely. A
Mhm.
hundred percent, right? Look at kids.
Yeah.
Our kids are our mirrors. And often I have found by observing my own family, the more similar we are, the more conflict we have.
Oh, yes.
You know what I mean? Like we all have that one
Oh,
sibling who is just like the parent. They just fight with constantly,
Hmm.
without naming any names. I don't know your family, you don't know mine, but I'm
Right.
willing to bet that they're quite similar because, families are very similar in dynamics. We just don't put it out there. But being able to communicate, right? We start
Yeah.
with our families.
Yeah.
They're the first line, right? Like my parents, my siblings were the first people I learned to have conflict with and try to figure out how to communicate that.
Yeah.
How do you
I feel
communicate?
that I feel that more with my daughter,
Yeah.
and I have to stop sometimes and go, oh, she is just like me.
Yeah. Or do you ever
And
hear your parents like sayings come out of your mouth and you're like, oh, because I know, right? And inside you're cringing, but you just said it.
yeah,
We become our
yeah,
parents until, and don't get me wrong, my parents are great. Your parents are probably great. We're not judging parents, but we become our parents until we can recognize our own feelings and our own emotions and try to communicate from there.
right. So
Yeah.
I guess that's where, nurture and nature
Nature versus nurture.
it
Yeah.
starts somewhere. Yep.
It definitely comes out. And I find it funny to watch because I live in Ontario, but I'm from BC. And I can see
Hmm.
characteristics in my children who were born and raised in Ontario that I see in my family out west. And it's like, oh man, the gene is strong, you know?
Yeah.
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 But that's okay because, I think that as I get older and as I mature and as I start to look at myself more than other people, I think we
Yeah.
start to realize that we don't have to fix other people. It's okay to just accept them as they are. You can understand it. I can understand when my daughter, does something that just reminds me so much of my sister. And I'm like, I can understand it. Doesn't mean I'm letting it go. But like that's the
Yeah.
first step of everything is taking a step and creaking the door. And where is this coming from? And holy cow, that's really ingrained in you.
Yeah.
And we know we can't change other people, which is a whole other conversation, but we can react differently. I
Right.
can recognize when my daughter does things that I did and remember how my parents reacted and how that worked, and then make that conscious decision to react differently. But I have to be able to take a moment first, right? That's the difference between
That's the
responding and
key.
reacting. Reacting is a little bit more spastic. It takes practice to take that breath and respond.
And, it's really hard when you're in a conversation or a situation and the other part doesn't want to sometimes give you that space. I've learned the hard way because I've been quite reactive. I will
Mm-hmm.
totally own that. And I'm getting really good at saying, I can't be productive in this conversation right now. And it
And
has
that's
nothing,
emotional intelligence. Oh, look
right.
at us dancing around it. But it is.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's perfectly respectable,
Hmm.
right? That's setting boundaries.
Right.
That's knowing what your needs are. Because if you're in a spot where you're feeling rushed or you're feeling stressed, you can't make the best decision anyways.
No,
So somebody
no,
shouldn't expect or want your best when you're not in the position to give it.
right.
Right. But we're human.
Mm.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about a technique that you brought to me, and I thought it was beautiful because what I've learned is there is a difference between reacting and responding. And in the beginning of when you feel that reaction coming, right? Like it's like a jolt, especially when it's something like anger. It's hard to not speak. So there's
Yeah.
different things that I do. Like I will literally take a breath because I'm
Hmm.
taking a breath before I respond. And then I've also learned that there are ways that you can think about, okay, in that moment, how am I feeling? Where is it coming from? But it's hard to find those words in that moment,
Hmm.
right? That's why I have a feelings wheel. My go, like, not mine, but a lot of people's go to feeling is anger. But when you
Yeah.
break it down, it's grief, you know?
Right.
So, but sometimes even just being able to express anger is difficult.
Yeah. Because there's such a negative content, like
Absolutely.
everybody thinks it's bad. It's bad. Like it's
It's shame.
negative. Hmm.
Any expressive of emotions is actually shame.
Yeah.
until you're in a safe space.
Right.
Really and truly, if you react in this day and age, in the day and age of cell phones, when everybody's ready to record a Karen,
Right.
right? We are on our best behavior there because you never know. So that's, anyways, how do you define feelings?
Wow. Like there's so many, it can be something that an emotion that you're feeling temporarily.
Right.
It can be an emotion, that you're feeling that you're not even realizing you're feeling, and it's actually triggering something from grief that happened once upon a time. So,
Absolutely, because the
um,
body keeps
where I
the body
kind of,
keeps it.
yeah, your body keeps score of
That's right.
things.
To quote the
Even
book.
though if you don't mentally, your body does. And
Yes.
if you don't address things emotionally, it starts affecting you physically.
It
And there's no
really
stopping.
it really really does. Now, I have a son. You have a son and a daughter, am I right or wrong?
Yeah. Yeah.
Teaching our sons to communicate emotions. Not easy, right? Because, in society generally, in Western cultures, men have been, told to be strong, not to be weak. Don't cry, don't be emotional.
Right.
So when you came to me and you talked to me about weather emotions, right?
Hmm.
What an incredibly powerful way to teach my son, if he's not ready to say, I'm feeling angry, to be able to say, I'm having like a gray day, or I feel like a thunderstorm today.
Right.
When you came to me with that, I was flabbergasted, because to me, any way that we can properly communicate how we're feeling,
Hmm.
anytime we can dig down and say, this is what I'm feeling, and have it received without being in a fit of rage, I think
Right.
that that's a positive.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell me about
Um,
emotional weather.
well, it's kind of like the idea that our feelings are like weather patterns.
Yeah.
They move, they shift, they pass. Sometimes, past trauma or past, situations that have imprinted us, whether it's traumatic or even positive, we
Hmm.
can brace ourselves like we're getting our storm chips and we're
Yeah.
bracing for, whether it be a storm or a beautiful day and the beautiful day doesn't come, or the storm that, you're bunkered down and they're calling for 50 centimeters of snow and it's 2 centimeters. It's the same way with emotions,
Yes.
but they don't define who we are. And, those storm systems, all the storms, the good days, the bad days, they all pass too, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
And that's beautiful. Even sometimes when I'm doing like meditations, I'll say, thoughts are going to come in, put them in a cloud and let them drift away.
Right.
It's
That I
such
like that
a
analogy.
it's such a beautiful analogy to use something that everybody understands. The
Right.
weather is common, to be able to
Hmm.
say, I've got a storm going through my head right now, but also it's going to end, right? So as
Yeah.
a mom, you can be like, it's okay. I'll sit
Yeah.
with you through the storm, and when it ends, we'll figure it out. Because you
Right.
can't solve problems when you're in it. You have to let it
No.
pass.
Yeah.
And so I love this analogy, because once the storm passes, we can sit in there and we can say, are you still feeling gray? Is the sun coming? What a beautiful way to communicate emotions to people,
Yeah.
especially youth, who haven't been
Yeah.
taught it.
Well, that's like, a lot of younger kids when what's the first thing, you're getting calls from schools because their tummy hurts,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is
That's the
usually
feeling.
anxiety, right?
Yes. Because it manifests physically. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful way. It's beautiful. I think it's incredible.
Hmm. Yeah, I loved it too. It just kind of like hit me and I came across the term and I was
Yeah.
like, wow, and it really resonated with me. And I just absolutely love it.
And
So
even
it's
so
not always,
deeply to go, like I would go, I love a great rainstorm. It cleans the air.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
okay to release. It's okay to let the tears flow. It's okay to let that go. Clear it,
Hmm.
and then see what grows.
Yeah, well,
That's
I feel
beautiful.
that like after like huge thunderstorms.
I love a thunderstorm.
Me too. I find after those huge, like in real, not just emotional storms, but in the real thunderstorms,
Yes.
everything feels lighter and more easier to breathe.
The
And
energy's cleared. Yeah.
yeah, I don't think people realize like energy is, it's a thing. It makes the world go round.
I believe in the spiritual aspect and I believe in the
Yeah.
scientific psychological aspect. And I believe that they're so similar, they're just two different languages. And if you look back at what Albert Einstein said, he says everything is energy,
Right.
right? I can say I'm manifesting positivity, or I can say I'm creating an unconscious bias in my mind and I begin to see all the things I want to see. It's the same
Yeah,
thing.
it is.
Yeah.
It
So
is.
which way do you want to train your brain, positively or negatively? But that's a whole other TED talk.
I know, and it kind of, and it goes back to one of my favorite movies, The Crow, and
Mm-hmm.
he says it can't rain all the time,
No,
and it
no.
can.
You know what? I love that because I grew up out west and people go, oh, but the rain. I'm like, it doesn't rain all the time. And when the
No.
sun shines in Vancouver, it's worth 3 months of rain. I'm just saying, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a beauty you don't see everywhere.
Yeah.
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 Well, my
Tones
friend,
of home.
I love chatting with you.
I love chatting with
I'm
you.
going to keep putting this on my YouTube channel, which is just Joe_Masgay. I'm going to keep pulling it out and putting it on TikTok, and we're going to keep having conversations because I believe that the more that we have conversations around mental health and mental wellness, the more other people will begin to have conversations. And that is how we ripple healing out into the world.
I totally agree. We need to continue these conversations, and everybody watching, you need to go have these conversations too.
Yes.
We have to, we have to start taking just the same day if you have sick days. Like,
Yeah.
why, when somebody's sick, what do? You don't keep going and going and going and going. You lie down, you rest, and you
You have
have to
to
do the
rest.
same for your mind.
Absolutely. Mm.
Mhm.
Chris, thank you for chatting with me.
Of course.
My
Always
friend,
a
you have a
pleasure.
beautiful weekend and we will talk again very soon.
Okay, Joe, you take care.
Bye, babe.
Bye.